Hello and welcome back to the HTL-P, the Holistic Teaching and Learning Podcast. My name is Gianna and this is a show that introduces holistic teaching and its impact on students and the education field as a whole. From students to educators and beyond, we learn what holistic learning is all about.
In this episode, we sit with Sheburra Haugsness to discuss spirituality's role in education. Sheburra takes us through her transformation guided by spirituality and how it can be harnessed to support students inside and outside of the classroom. We also get a peek into the Academy of Universal Metaphysics, an institution developed by Dr. Haugsness. The Academy of Universal Metaphysics is a faith-based private school located in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay, hello everyone and welcome to the Holistic Teaching and Learning Podcast. I am your host, Gianna Lowry, and today I'm here with
Stephanie Hogan and Dr. Sheburra Haugsness.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here with us.
Oh, thank you for being here. All right. So Sheburra, we have kind of our first question for you is really just getting into your background, just kind of telling everyone who you are, what you stand for, kind of what your history with education is, and anything else you want to share.
Thank you. All right. So I am, first and foremost, a mother, mother of twins, 2 boys, and loving the motherhood. Prior to that, so 3 years ago, I've spent about 15 years teaching as a Japanese/middle school math teacher in Las Vegas, Nevada. And that teaching career has been one of the most rewarding experience that I ever had so far in my life. And before that, I'm kind of going backwards. I got my teaching credentials in Spokane, Washington at Whitworth University. And that 4.5 years of learning how to become a teacher, the pedagogy of teaching, the art of teaching was also very inspiring. And I knew in my heart that I was on a career path that was in alignment with my bliss, what brought me joy into my heart. So yeah, I identify myself as an educator who loves to share and learn from other people to elevate the world together. So that's my background in a nutshell.
That's so beautiful. And kind of going off of that, my next question for you would be what made you get into teaching in the first place? Kind of where did that idea formulate from, and what kind of brought you to that?
Well, it was a very specific moment in time, and I was about 5 years old. Then I was living in Japan. I was actually born and raised in Japan in the 80s. And the neighborhood that I grew up in was very negative towards anything and anybody that looked different from them. And I looked different from them because my father is Black. My mother is Japanese. I was a mixed race child, growing up in a kind of a traditional Japanese neighborhood, if you will. So I stood out. I looked very different. My family was different. So I experienced a lot of hostility and negativity just because I looked different. So I learned to just kind of be on my own, play by myself, and find the courage within to find my own happiness. And I did that through being in nature, playing with animals, and created my own songs and poetry. And I was in my head and in my heart a lot, I would say, growing up. And one day in that neighborhood, a visitor came, and she was a little girl, same age as me. And she didn't seem to be bothered by my brown skin and my curly hair. She just wanted to play. So I played with her, and we shared different games and artwork and projects, and she was there for a week. So we every day we played. We taught each other different things. And after she had left, I noticed the neighbors who used to be so mean to me looked at me a little differently after that. They seemed to have this acceptance, like, wow, you look different, but you're all right. It's as if they were thanking me for playing with their little visitor that came through. And that gave me hope that, wow, through teaching and learning, through sharing, we can find our common ground in humanity. That it's not what we look like, it's who we are and what connects us together. So that was inspired in me as early as 5 years old. And I knew, like, I wanted to go in the field of education. That's where harmony and peace is created. So that's my answer to that question. As early as 5 years old, I wanted to become a teacher. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And hearing you say that you were in your heart and in your head, I think of one of the things that we talk about with holistic education of,
Mhm.
we're teaching the students, teaching their brain, teaching their heart, teaching their soul. And so I kind of wanted to ask too, as a follow-up, how did you find holistic education?
That happened later on in my career. I was already in the field of education. I've even had the opportunity to teach abroad as a Peace Corps volunteer and served at Botswana, Africa, being a liaison between the Ministry of Education and the life skill program that they were rolling out for teachers. Um, and being in the public school arena here in Las Vegas, Nevada, I was a first grade teacher, a fifth grade teacher, sixth grade, seventh grade. Um, I, I was in it. I was in it. Every day was rewarding when I've experienced the awe within myself as well as my students when they understood something, when they made that connection, whether it was with the content or with each other, or maybe some of the life stories that I would share with them. My adventurous life that I had so far, I would share some of these stories, and those are what kept me going. However, the workload and the limited resources, the circulation of resources within education began to really weigh me down. And for a while, I kind of lost that fire, that spark in me that that made me fall in love with teaching and education. And I became very grumpy and bitter and start wondering, is this it for me? Like, is this really bringing me happiness? And I started to question. Started to question a lot of things. Um, and together with a turbulent experience I was having with my family members at the time, I had this moment where everything was kind of going south. And I had one particular argument with my father, and I came home in a lot of pain. And that particular experience was the catalyst of me catapulting into the experience of spiritual awakening. And spirituality was something that I've heard about, that I knew kind of existed, but I that wasn't really part of who I was. I was a good person. I believed in spirits and things, but I just didn't really study it or go deeper into it. It was just, yeah, I would say, like, I'm a spiritual person, or but not religious. I would say things like that. Um, but I just never really dove into it until that particular moment when I was in pain and I was crying. And within a second, I went from extreme pain to bliss. That spiritual awakening, the spontaneous spiritual awakening experience happened to me. And in the instant, my world's changed. How I saw myself, how I saw the world, everything changed within that second. And I was in awe, overflowing of love and joy of the interconnectedness of our universe and us humanity. And I was able to see everything from a point of view, from a vantage point of love, what connects us all. And that that was when I was able to dive into spirituality, study more about it, and start integrating into my life to enhance my relationship with my family, my friends, a role that I had as a teacher. Um, and that fire came back within my heart, why I do what I do, why I wake up every day, that drive, the purpose, the connection to my soul and everything else around me. So that was my awakening, spiritual awakening that catapulted me into holistic education, where we look at a child not as the mind or body, but the spirit, the heart, the whole child. And my teaching became amazing. My content delivery. I mean, I taught pre-algebra to middle school students, and that could be a challenging subject, right? Like, oh my gosh, why do we need to know this? Blah 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 blah. And and all of a sudden, when I was using the approach, holistic approach, and start seeing students as another soul human being, another reflection of me, the way I communicated, the way I delivered my content, the way I facilitated connection within my classroom, elevated their learning. And I ended up winning a teaching award. And that just validated me, like, this is it. It's holistic education. I just cannot teach. Why would I teach outside of that ever? So I kept on going. I practiced my holistic approaches within my classroom. And when I had the opportunity to share my approach to other teachers, to spill over into other classrooms and, the school, there was a huge pushback. I wasn't allowed to say certain things or practice certain things or bring certain attributes to the table because it was a public school. And I just saw the limitation. Not that public school cannot embrace holistic education, and we can all embrace holistic education, but at the time, I felt a strong pushback. And that's when I knew I may have to create this and live from this elsewhere, where I have a little bit more freedom to do what I believe is right, is true, that students resonate with to learn. So I ended up creating my own academy. So yeah, here we are. That was a long answer to your question, but that's my journey to holistic education.
That was a beautiful answer, though. It's so lovely to hear the passion that you have, and the drive through hardships to bring you to here, and
Mm,
now you're starting your own, academy, and that's just it's beautiful. And
thank
so,
you.
yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I'll
Mhm.
hand it over to Gianna.
Yeah. I think I have a question. I've been like writing a few down as we've been talking.
Yes, please.
One thing that I'm taking a human development class right now, and one thing we
Okay.
just are starting to dive into is like the world of spirituality for children. And so like you
Mm,
already answered my question about how does spirituality like impact your job as a teacher now? And so I guess my other question is how do we foster spirituality for children? Like, what is the role of spirituality in education?
mm.
That is just something that I've been wanting to know more about. So I kind of want to hear kind of your opinion on that and how you see like the role of spirituality for your students.
Okay. That's a very, very wonderful question. And I'll do my best to answer it from the heart because it's about the heart. When an educator, I think because I've been in the teaching profession so long, I see it from an educator's point of view. And it doesn't have to be a classroom teacher. It could be a parent. It could be an admin, uh, administration, administrator of a building who oversees a school or whatever it may be. It could be anybody, really. When you step in the role of being an educator to influence a young mind and heart and soul, you always want to be mindful of that. And we don't need a fancy academy to do this. You can do this with your children, with the students within your class, whatever class that you may have. That when you see each and every child as its own universe, its own beautiful spiritual expression, the way you approach things automatically shifts without you really thinking about it, because you're seeing them holistically. You are considering the whole, the whole being. And the kids can feel that. If anything, children are more sensitive to that than adults. They can connect to that energy much better. And if you listen, they will bring out their own beautiful creative solutions and expression towards learning. And if you harness that energy, encourage that energy, celebrate that energy, and share it, you're there. You're there. And as an educator, be able to connect each individual children's beautiful way of expressing who they are and what excites them into different, whether it's ideas or content, right? We show them the interconnectedness of the world. For example, if a child is really passionate about math, that's great. Keep that child excited about math, but help them connect that to music. Help them connect that to nature, the pattern you see in nature. Help connect that to social study. Help them connect that to conflict resolution, right? And make that connection so they see, oh, wow, I'm really interested in this particular thing, but look how we're all connected, right? The interconnectedness. So as an educator, that's our responsibility to help kids connect the dot. They are already spirited. Children are already spirited. Their heart is open, most of them, right? They want love, they want connection, they're ready, right? And here we are helping them to how to use that wonderful energy to navigate this world, because our world does have violence. Our world does have problems. Our world have things that we all need to work on individually and collectively. And as an adult, we need to bring that to the table from a perspective of we have what it takes to bring solution to it and not stay in the victim mentality. So constantly modeling our thoughts, because our thoughts become our reality, right? Constantly modeling conflict resolution. When we talk to another teacher, when we talk to a parent, when we talk to students, we're constantly modeling the language we use, how we show that we care, how to agree to disagree, because we're going to disagree, and that's okay. How do we disagree but stay in the energy of love and care? So the other person or yourself will remain receptive to the possibility of a new solution that can arise from that duality. So there's so many things we can do as educators, and it'll come naturally. You may you may get some of these strategies and ideas from a book, but really once our hearts are open, it'll just come to you. And every situation is unique and authentic. So there is no guidebook to it. This is what you're supposed to do. I mean, there's some encouragement and some direction that can point to that, but ultimately the student's going to bring that out. The adults themselves going to bring that out, the authentic solution for that authentic problem. So
things that I could touch on, and it is truly so beautiful just listening, and listening to that kind of momentum of that you've started. I would be curious to hear how you are planning to implement that into your academy. If you could even just touch on, what that has looked like starting an academy, what the academy is,
hmm.
yeah, and kind of dive into that realm a little bit.
Yes, as a leader of unfolding this project, this huge project of opening an academy, holistic academy, I'm very mindful of all the adults, all the leaders that are contributing to this effort, and being mindful that we too come with our past traumas and hurt, as well as biased and limited belief system. Um, so to be able to be open about it, to be able to talk about it, give each other space and time and grace and support for us to heal, for us to come from the premise of holistic approach to ourselves. We have to use it ourselves as leaders to create this for our kids. So professional development for healing, mindfulness, how to deal with our own issues, hurt and trauma. We have to start from healing ourselves first. So that's going to be huge. Empowering our teachers so they can fill their cup and spill over to our children. So that's going to be huge. The adult cultivation and healing. Because really the other part, again, the kids will bring to the table. The kids will bring the rest to the table, and they'll be the one that will be blowing our minds like, oh, that's a great idea. All right. So allowing that time, not to jam pack the curriculum so they don't have time to breathe or write that thank you letter to the people who hosted a beautiful event, a day of reflection, a day of contemplation, a time within a day to interact with nature. Um, have enough time, recess or lunchtime where they can actually talk to one another, even prepare their own food, allowing that time for them to really exercise and express their gift. Why do we need to teach 2000 standard in one year? Like, okay, yeah, we care about the basic. We want the kids to be able to do some basic math and read and ask questions. Standards are important, but why so many? Why so many? And some of them are not that important. For us to be able to connect with one another on a soul level is far more important than some of these standards that we are stressed to teach and deliver as teachers, and students are being stressed because they don't get it. Like, that time and energy can be used differently. So yes, empowering the teachers, relaxing the curriculum, allowing space for innovation, for purpose-driven initiative that comes from students. We're going to allow that time and hold that space for them.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing about that. I guess kind of going along, like we've very much talked about like the holistic educator kind of sides of things. I kind of want to know a little bit more about the holistic leadership side, especially speaking to, like, if you could speak to potential principals, administration that might be listening. It's like, what does a holistic leader look like? Like, how do we lead other teachers well in a way that supports them ultimately so that their cups are full and that they can then support their students?
Gosh, you have some amazing questions. I love it. I love it. I believe we do that. We empower leaders by them themselves embracing the fact that we succeed together by empowering those who, quote unquote, work for us, right? too many times leaders will get caught up in the position that they're in. Well, I'm a principal, or I'm a president of the university, or I'm a superintendent of a school district, whatever it may be. They get so caught up uh, in that status, maybe just the job description, if you will, the black and white, and they forget to come from the heart, that the teachers and the students and the parents and the community that we serve are another human being, just like us leaders, right? We're just another doing our best, another soul doing the best. And if we come from that we are people, not some object to manage, okay, that'll change the conversation and the attitude towards things. And when we see an area that a person can heal and improve, we give that time and the resource and the encouragement so they can bring out their strength we need to keep the operation going. Leaders doesn't make all the positive change happen by themselves. We empower those so we can produce those positive results that we want from within, from elevating all of us, like within education, empowering the students, empowering the teachers, empowering the parents. It's what's going to empower that community, right? School is just a vessel. We're just a vessel, right? What brings it to the table are the people within it. So when leaders forget and they become so caught up on this and this, and they end up judging or being critical of their teachers or their workers, or, well, students can't do this, or teachers are not doing that, or the parents are that, and we're so busy blaming, right? Being in the blame lack mindset, then we're not going to progress at all. We can complain all day long, right? But what can we do to improve ourselves? What can we do to help others? What can I do for you? How can I empower you? And if the conversation can be directed in that area, so long story short, we empower leaders by having them constantly be reflective with who they are as leaders. And if we're not saying, hi, how can I help you? How can I empower you? Then we're not coming from the heart. Yes.
So kind of jumping out of that area a little bit, I kind of want to see your reflections from after the conference. I mean, that is how we met you. It was a beautiful, incredible weekend for me, and I heard it was the same for a lot of other people. And yeah, it was just, I kind of want to hear what your reflections are, your biggest takeaways, kind of what you brought back with you from Ashland. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, a lot. It was such a wonderful, wonderful conference. And I thank you so much for putting on such an amazing event for all of us. What I took away from that was hope, encouragement to keep moving forward, that we have educators out there who cares and who are dedicated to holistic education, holistic approach to education, to connecting with our youth. So that gave me a lot of encouragement to keep going, because sometimes it feels a bit lonely. And sometimes you start questioning, am I on the right path? And that was a huge validation, confirmation that yes, we are on the right path. This is what humanity needs. This is what our children need. And the beautiful individual that I met from the conference, we are still keeping in touch. Look at us, here we are, and we are here to be a support system, to share resources and ideas and inspiration to keep moving forward. So it was a beautiful, beautiful experience.
I think the way that I have seen this, it's like the community of holistic education. I've heard so much about it in all my classes, and I've gotten to read work by a lot of the attendees of the
Mhm.
conference. It's really amazing. And I see it as like this beautiful, just like web, and it's all around the world too.
I
Getting to meet people from all across the world was just so special. Um, I guess wrapping up, one question that we did want to ask is if you had, one piece of advice for aspiring educators, people who are coming into education, what is kind of your advice for those people?
um to stay in your power. No one can take that away from you. Remember, you have what it takes. That's why you are experiencing what you're experiencing. We're not here to experience defeat. We're here to experience success and solutions, ideas, and way of the path to that solution is within us. And it's not something that somebody else outside of you give it to you externally. It's something that you find from within. And um, so there's going to be time where your the demand of teaching, the dealing with the paperwork, some of the expectation that may feel disconnected and fragmented with the whole purpose of education. You're going to encounter those things, and you're going to feel it. You're going to feel that resistance, that friction, that feeling when you're off track. When something is on track, it moves smoothly, right? It rolls. But when it's off track, you experience whole bunch of turbulence, and you're going to experience that, and that's okay. That's another opportunity for us to go inward, for us to recalibrate, for us to think about our purpose, what brings us bliss, and not just to ourselves, but we're in service for others. And how can we bring that power? How could we remind others that they have the power to change the perspectives, or some of the behavior that could result in a much more peaceful, harmonious ways of doing things? So just remember that it's within you. You are good enough. I think teachers starting off, they may think, well, I just came into the profession. Well, I may not know. And it's always good to be humble and open minded. You're there to learn, but don't ever belittle yourself, that you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, or take any harsh criticism that has very little love and care for your true elevation as a professional. Like, don't take that to heart. Just let that that's not you, right? That's on them. That's something that they're working on, right? That's a projection of something that they may be struggling with. So be able to discern and navigate that, and know that no one can take your happiness and peace away from you. It is your responsibility to maintain that from within. I used to keep like a little piece of crystal, or like a little mantra, or little reminders in my pocket, or I would say a little prayer before I walk into the building. Another prayer after I walk out of the building sometimes, Um, I'll put reminders and decorate my classroom in a way that reminds me constantly of why I do what I do. And sometimes kids will point to, like, what is that? Why do you have that? Or what is this? Or what does that mean? Sometimes they ask. And that's a beautiful opportunity for you to share, uh, to share why you express the way you do. And we encourage kids to express themselves. We can express ourselves too, to model how we can do that in a very harmonious way. And kids ask great questions. They're very observant. So yeah, keep those mantras and positive words, and keep plants. I love having plants in the classroom, something that's alive that we care for. If it's not class pet, I always had plants. I always played nice music in the background when I was teaching math. You know, I cared about the environment because the environment reminds us of the inner state, right? It reflects our inner state. So when a parent or student step into my classroom or admin steps into my classroom or my space, they immediately experience harmony. Well, I think is harmony. What's harmony to me? So I was very mindful of any clutter, or I always held my students accountable to clean the classroom before we leave, because this is our space. So as I honor and heighten that type of expectation due to pride and appreciation, they honor it. They don't resist. They love to pick up. They love to clean, of course. So just embodying that makes it so it just all kind of falls into place. So that's just a reminder.
Yeah, and it's so important. And like you said previously, we are the models for our students. And so we have to practice it just as much as we teach it to them. And so having those reminders, having those mantras, having those routines is one of just such an important way, and such a feasible way to
Yeah.
show that to our students,
Mhm.
which is so important. Um, Another question I had, if as a kind of another
Mhm.
closing question,
Okay.
if people wanted to learn more about your academy, learn more about you, and what your work is, and keep up with any of that, where can they find you? How can they reach out? How can they hear more?
Ah, thank you for that. They could definitely learn about what I'm up to or what I'm all about um, through the Academy's website. Academy website, the website address is aumnevada.org, and that's capital AUM, and spell out Nevada, the state of Nevada, .org. So aumnevada.org is the
Awesome.
website. And we have bios of all the people who are involved in the school establishment. So you can read more about my backgrounds there and all the other people. I'm not doing this alone. All the other wonderful souls who are helping and collaborating for this establishment, as well as the social media. We have a few platforms: YouTube, um, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and or X. And what else do we have? We also have Pinterest. So they can definitely check in, and we kind of update on some of our new milestones. Just recently, we got our finally. It feels like finally, even though it actually happened fairly quickly. In my mind, it took a long time, but we are finally tax exempt. So
Oh,
anybody who wants to make, generous donation, they can use that as tax deductions and things like that. So we're moving along.
so exciting. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. How
Yeah.
fun.
Shebra, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us. We really appreciate it. I know that all the viewers appreciate it as well. You have shared so much insight, and oh my gosh, yeah. I was just looking forward to this interview for so long.
Oh.
You are such an incredible person, and you just have so much light and love and knowledge to spread. And especially I feel like for, our cohort at SOU, a lot of aspiring educators who have bought into holistic education. I mean, hearing kind of like from the other side of it and what can be done and like the opportunities that are there, and just hearing all of that advice is just so special. So we really appreciate it and say thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Oh, and thank you. Thank you for embarking your life in this journey as educators. It's such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. And it is up to you to make it as beautiful as your soul resonate with. So yeah, it's exciting. Thank you.